What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're doing something different. I know a lot of you guys who watch my channel know me for doing a lot of wrestling content, but don't get me wrong, we will be doing more wrestling content in the future. But right now, since it's spooky season, I want to implement some horror stuff for all my horror fans out there. And I couldn't do this video alone. I brought a fellow horror enthusiast, to say the least, someone who knows a lot about horror, probably more than me, of course. My boy Hayden, you guys seen him on a couple videos a while back, and he's been going crazy with a lot of the horror content with the Terrifier stuff, which I've been definitely keeping up to date with. But Hayden, how are you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do this video with you. I've been trying to wrap some thoughts around, my favorite Scream movies and characters so I can help make this tier list go by a little bit easier. Um, I'm just excited to be up, ready to go. And it's going to be exciting to hear your thoughts because I know a lot of things we agree on, especially when it comes to the Scream franchise. I know
Mm-hmm.
you're a really, really big fan of the Scream franchise,
Yeah.
much like myself. So it's going to be interesting to hear your thoughts and kind of just us get into it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, because we're this is pretty much coming off the back of us really hearing that Scream 7 is going to be in full effect, which will be having a 2026 release in February. So I'm looking forward to Scream coming back once again. Hopefully, they amp it up a little bit more. I know for a lot of people would say that they kind of have fallen off just a little bit, just based off some of the stuff that they've done. I wouldn't say that. Maybe there are a few mistakes they could have, capitalized on a little bit better, but that's for a different time and place. But we're gonna get into it with the tier list. We have the different categories. We have goaded, which means that pretty much the best character in the entire franchise. We have a memorable. They've had a lot of memorable moments. People still look at them and still think that they could have probably been around. We have a decent. They were okay, but they just weren't really the best that they could have been. They had their moment, which means pretty much they had their moment, which was maybe a moment of them getting killed or them being a ghost face, wherever the case may be. And if it's who are you, which you don't want to go into, if you're who are you, pretty much we don't remember you. And pretty much a lot of fans would also agree we don't remember seeing you. But the first person that's on this list is Billy Loomis. Hey, I'm gonna let you take the role on this one because Billy Loomis is probably like gotta be the OG. He's the OG Scream Ghostface, whatever you want to call him. Like
Yeah,
he's
I
the one
mean,
that started it all.
come on, man. It don't take a genius to know what category he's going in. Like this
He's
is the OG. This is my favorite ghost face of all time. Probably the best ghost face of all time.
yes.
And I'm not sure if it's just how good the movie was for me and the turn at the end that makes me feel that way, or if it's just the actor himself.
Mhm.
Just everything about Billy Loomis, especially in the movie, and
Yeah.
then when he starts coming back later on in the movies as Sam's father, I think that those scenes are also pretty cool as well. So for
Definitely.
me, he's definitely goaded, no doubt.
Exactly. And it's like I think one thing I will say he was like one of the best to ever like Ghostface, and I feel like his motivation kind of was cool too because you have a lot of them that have motivation for doing what they do, and a lot of them were pretty much mostly they want to do like a rehash of some of the older films and stuff like that. But his was just family ties, and I think that's what makes his motivation kind of different from everybody else. He wasn't really trying to copycat another killer or copycat another town or whatever it is. It's pretty much just the fact that what we found out is, his dad was messing with Sydney's mom, and that kind of made him feel some type of way. And we kind of found out later that he was given the motivation by another Ghostface to kind of do what he did. So it kind of just made everything tie together. But I would agree with you said, Hayden. He's definitely the OG, and also on top of that, with him coming back as like the father for, Melissa Cabrera, I think that's kinda something I didn't see coming. Like, when I seen him in Scream 5 in a flashback, I'm like, "What is he doing here? Is she literally hallucinating?" But when he found out that he's the father, I think that kinda just had people on their toes now because I think now people are expecting to see him in flashbacks going forward. Maybe you can have him be the reason that maybe she snaps and maybe turns to being a ghost face. I think people are kinda leaning into that.
Yeah, I I don't necessarily want to say I saw it coming when the Scream 5 came out that he was going to end up being her father, But as they started like hinting towards it, and the first time I saw the flashback and I saw him, I was like, oh my god, like that's crazy. Like what is going on? And then just like the very end of the scream where she's finally getting her revenge on Richie, and she's like,
Yeah.
don't mess with the daughter of a serial killer. That was
Yeah.
pretty sick. So everything, it just tied into it very well, and it kind of wrapped around to the first movie. And I think the first and the fifth are probably my favorites. So the fact that they were able to like intertwine with each other in that way probably played a huge role in that as well.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just really love the portrayal of Billy Loomis. Just everything he's done.
Mhm.
So
Definitely. Especially like now you're kind of seeing like a different dimension to his character just because like we always looked at him as a bad guy, but the way they've been portraying him with Sam's storyline, it's coming off as he's more of like a good guy in a sense because it's like he's helping Sam kind of cope with a lot of stuff that's been going on in her life, kind of. And he kind of gave her like the edge in the fifth one to kind of get back at Richie.
is it he's helping her cope, or is it he's trying to push her over the edge and turn her into a killer like him? You
That
know,
could definitely be it. I mean, it's not
it
who's to say that he's really not trying to do that? I mean, he's a ghost face himself, and maybe he's trying to get her to kind of join him and kind of join the cult, I guess, so to speak. So I would love to see that kind of explained a little bit more what her motivations is as far as her ties to Billy and what does Billy have an impact on her as far as her probably being a ghost face at some point. So definitely looking forward to that how they implement that going forward. But the next character we got to talk about from Scream 1, I would say the opening kill. Casey Becker or Drew Barrymore for a lot of people. Imma let you take the role on this one too, Aiden, because she has
um
to be memorable.
I mean, I don't want to say goaded because
No, she's not goated,
she's
I'm sorry.
she's not goaded, but the scene in the movie itself, just the opening scene is one of the most like memorable opening horror movie scenes of all time though.
Yeah,
So for her, I'd say definitely memorable just because
okay.
of how memorable the scene itself is. Um
Yeah, because the opening kill was memorable, but it's like I think it was kind of seen as people felt like she was gonna be a main character in the movie, and because like, you look at the posters that were coming out, like, during that time for the
mhm.
movie, she was on the poster, so a lot of people were thinking she was probably going to probably be, like, the lead character, and then when it came out that she was, like, the opening kill, a lot of people were kinda confused because it's like, you put out this idea that she's probably gonna be a main character for her only to get killed off in the opening, which not to take anything away, but she did have a great opening kill, but she didn't really do anything else besides having the little dialogue that she did have with Ghostface, and that was really it. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree with you there.
the next person we got to talk about him, Dewey Riley. RP Dewey Riley for all the Scream fans, myself included, and Hayden as well. Uh, I would say is the heart and soul of the legacy characters, I would say, or at least for the Scream franchise. And still, even though he's not there, I still would look at him as still being the heart and soul of the franchise. And it still kind of feels a little different with him not being around. But I say he's goaded. I mean, he's got to be.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's because it comes down to everything he's done since the beginning, and then the way he unfortunately had went out in Scream 5, and
Yeah,
then the way they had to even just convince him to come back and try to help them, and then he was gonna just essentially put his life on the line again, even years later, to try and stop this new generation of the ghost face. He's a go for that. and
definitely. Yeah,
it's not just because he died in the movie.
it's
He
the stuff that he did before that, like
Yeah,
just
it's
the
everything.
character.
Everything he did before and during that movie was just awesome. So
Definitely. And I feel like I look back on the Scream franchise, and there were some moments that I feel like they could have capitalized on. I think when you look at the legacy characters with Sydney and Gail, they had, interactions with Ghostface. They've had phone calls with Ghostface. Dewey was the only one that's never really had a phone call with Ghostface, and that was something that I wanted. to see play out on screen. I would
Mm,
want to see what his character would be like with an interaction. I would love to see what it would have been like if he was actually able to get an upper hand, clean victory over a Ghostface. That was always something that they've kind of told you from the beginning. Is when it comes down to him and Ghostface, Ghostface always gets the upper hand. The only time he really got the upper hand was in Scream 3, and it was only because Sydney and Gale were around him. If that wasn't the case, who was to say that he wouldn't have got killed off right then and there in Scream 3?
mhm,
But I would have preferred, I always say this, if they were to do Scream 5, I would have preferred it would have been better to kind of kill off Gale instead of Dewey because it would have created a bigger dynamic with this character going forward because he would have completely hit rock bottom, like pretty much losing everything, losing his status as being the sheriff, losing his wife, pretty much, you know, it would have created a great character, even better character for him going forward, which I would have personally would like to see. But I would say his death was probably one of the goriest I think we've seen in the franchise as a whole. Yes, we've had some gory deaths in the entire franchise, but I think his still tends the test of time as probably one of the most goriest, especially with the music kind of playing a factor too. It kind of had
mhm.
was pulling at your heartstrings. So I think the entire sequence of his death, I think, really got an emotional standpoint for a lot of people for sure. But I think like you said, he's still goaded. At the end of the day, the next person we got to talk about is his compadre or his wife, and for the most part during the film and stuff like that, Gail Weathers. Um, I'm gonna let you take this one, Aiden. I'm probably gonna agree with you on a lot of these for the most part.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Uh, Legendary character, yes, but I've never been a fan of Gale Weathers in any of these movies. Even I mean, I guess the newer ones, um, where she's coming back and genuinely trying to be a good person and help. I guess that kind of helped to her character. But I always
Yeah,
thought, like, I hate this lady. She just wants to get a story out of everything, you know. Um, I just never been a fan. So,
yeah.
decent for me, maybe.
I can definitely meet you in the middle with that one. I feel like yes, she's still an OG character, but out of the three, she came off as the weakest for me in the sense of her character. Just because she's pretty much had the same character the entire time. She was the reporter in the first one. She was still a reporter in the second one. The third one, she pretty much was still in the reporting business. And then the fourth one, she was a writer. Then the fifth one, I would say she's kind of maybe probably one of the reasons why Dewey did end up getting killed. Because if she did not call him, he probably would have blew Ghostface the Kingdom coming, in my personal opinion.
Mhm.
It- Dewey would probably would have got the ultimate victory, but because of Gale calling him when he needed to be locked in and focused is the reason. And then she blamed herself. And then if you look at the sixth one, she literally would have almost gotten killed if it wasn't for like Sam and Tara coming in.
Yeah, I also don't like the way she moved on so quickly with her new boyfriend in the
Oh,
newer
I
movie.
hated that. That really
That
pissed me
that
off.
made me angry, and then it's like she didn't even care because then he dies, and she's just
And she
looking at
doesn't
his dead
care.
body on the floor, and she's just like, "Okay."
It really was a real shame. Like you lost the love of your life in Scream. You lost him. And then the fact that one movie later, you're right with someone else as if that
Yeah.
one didn't matter. And what made it worse is like you're still with somebody, but you still have Dewey's pictures in your home. Like, are we
Mhm.
serious right now? Like, I did not like that. I'm like, okay, so it's kind of like it's giving me like crazy X vibes. Like you're still not over your ex, but you're trying to move on.
Yeah, you're just trying to just get catch a rebound. You're trying to just get over something. I hated that. That's another thing that makes me not really like it that much.
And it's like, and I'm pretty sure you can agree. If it was came down to who gets killed in Scream 5, me and you probably would agree. Gail had to go. I would have preferred Gale 10 times over than I would have preferred Dewey.
I mean,
Let's be
it
honest.
would have sucked because, like I'm saying, she's still a legendary character.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm saying she's like the worst of all
No.
time, but like it would not have hit as hard as Dewey. I would have still preferred having Dewey around. But then again, I feel like them killing off Dewey, especially the way they did, it it let them bring the point across that these new like era of Scream movies they're not playing. Like it's about to get
Yeah.
dark. They don't care who you love that you've been watching for years. They don't care nothing. It's about to get dark. It's crazy. They're going after anybody. They're not sparing anything. And I really like the edgy feel of the newer Screams because
Yeah.
I'm okay with, the older ones having their like comedy elements and like the older styles and everything, but the
Mhm.
new like gritty and dark feel of the newer Scream movies, I much
Definitely.
prefer that over the older feel. So them killing Dewey kind of brought forth that for me. After that scene, I was like, okay, this is about to get wild. I wasn't expecting all this.
Exactly, and I think when you think about it, it was bound to happen that one of the OGs was going to get killed off, and I think if you were to look at it, they had to kinda kill off Dewey in a sense because it's like, well, Sydney wasn't gonna come back to Woodsboro. They had to use an excuse to get her back, and I think
Yeah.
at the same time, you can also agree that with Dewey's death, it brought, like, Sydney and Gail closer because they were never that close. Dewey was always the
Mm.
bridge to kinda keep them all grounded and calm, but now that he's no longer in the picture, how is the dynamic between Gail and Sydney going to look like after the fact? So I will agree with that. But like when you like you said, out of the three OG legacy characters, she did come off as the weakest for me as far as character progression. Not to say that she's the worst out of all the characters, because we're gonna get into some that are very bad, but she's still memorable for me and decent. The
Mm.
next one, also from the original Scream, Principal Henry. Um,
I mean, he had
I
his
mean,
moment. I remember him. Like he had
he's
his
memorable.
moment.
He had his moment
Um,
because it's like he came off as a bit of a creep in a way, but he was still helpful.
yeah.
I only remember that one scene, and then I think they had a little bit of dialogue with him as far as when Randy talks about him and later in the movie that they found his body on the goalpost. So I mean, he just got stabbed, and that was really it.
Yeah,
It
he had
wasn't.
his moment. I mean, it's not like he was like one of the like main characters of the first one or anything, but
Yeah,
I definitely put him in had their moment because I definitely remember him. I can remember a couple scenes, but nothing much past that.
same. I would also agree. Um, the cameraman from Scream One, Kenny,
I don't remember how he went out.
he just got his throat slit. He
Uh,
he got he pretty much what happened in the original Scream. Sydney came out there, and it was pretty much him and Sydney. They were talking because I think the delay was happening going on with Randy in the house, and it looks like the Ghostface was right behind him. But they kind of set it up as to a few minutes behind or something like that, and he came out right as soon as Kenny turned around and got his throat slit.
okay.
So that was pretty much it. He didn't really have a character. He was just always seen as a side character to the story that they were doing between him and Gail as being the
Hmm.
reporter and cameraman. It wasn't he wasn't one of my favorites that I look back at. I'm sorry. That's why I put him in Who Are
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
Um the next one, Randy. Um he's pretty much us. Let's just put it like that. He's pretty much
I
us.
I was just about to say we have to connect on a personal level. Like this is our guy. This is our movie guy. He was trying to keep everyone straight, head on a swivel. If everyone would have listened to him, everyone would have survived. He knows what's going on. And then he also plays a factor in the newer movies as well. Randy, for me, I'm not sure if you would agree, but for me, he's one of the goats for sure.
I would agree. I mean, I know they with some of these characters like with Randy and Dewey, even though they have gotten killed off, right? I feel like their spirit kind of still lives on throughout the franchise in the midst of these other characters that we're seeing. Now I know Mindy is kind of like a second coming of Randy, and I feel like
Hmm.
her brother, Chad, is almost like a second coming of Dewey. That might be I might be the only one that feels that way because it kind of seems
Well,
like they're kind of treating them the same way.
Randy, even apart from like Mindy and Chad and stuff in the newer movies, even apart from the connection that he has with them, they still, even everyone in these newer movies and in movies going forward, even after Randy had died, they still live by his rules. They still know the rules to follow, like never go to the basement alone, or never do this, never do that, whatever it is, they
Yeah,
still live by these rules because these are literally the rules of the franchise of these Scream and Stab movies. And it's funny that they were able to play back to that because every movie going forward, if you live by the rules and you do everything right, you have a strong chance of survival. So they're
that's
still
definitely
living by
true.
his rules. So he's still playing a very pivotal role, even not even being around. Because even if they're not referencing it directly in the movies, us as fans of the movies can watch and be like, she should not have went to the basement just then. She's dead.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the coffin right there, just because like a lot of the rules that we do see explained still stem from a lot of the stuff that he was saying in the earlier films with Randy. You can never have sex in these movies. You can always they're changing the narrative in the sense, but they're still applying the rules that he has set. And he kind of hit the nail on the coffin even in Scream 3 is how the franchise was starting to change. Like a lot of these characters or ghost faces are starting to be more superhuman. Like you have to do more things
Mhm.
to kill them. You can't just and it kind of goes back to a lot of them having bulletproof vests, right? The
Yeah.
technology changing. So you see, so it shows like how time is changing, not just in real life, but in this franchise as a whole as well. But it still kind of always goes back to what Randy's been saying since the beginning. So that's why I would agree that he is still goaded, even though he has been gone since the second one. I wish they would have kept him around a little bit longer because I would love to see the dynamic that he can have with this new generation of characters that we're seeing currently right
Mhm.
now. Um, the next character is the sheriff from Scream 1, Sheriff Burke. I don't remember much from him. He had maybe like one or couple of dialogues with Dewey and maybe a few other main characters, but that's about it. I don't
I mean, I might remember him from like some interrogation scenes,
That's about
maybe,
it.
but they didn't do anything for me personally.
It
So
didn't. I'm gonna just say they had their moment. I'm not gonna say who are you because he did have a moment, and that's about
yeah.
it. Oh, okay, now we're getting into some more better characters. Sydney Prescott, the final girl of Scream. She's still goaded. Um, but it was kind of felt like they didn't have her in Scream 6. So I don't know what her character would have been like. I know she will be in Scream 7. So hopefully they kind of rejuvenate her character a little bit. Um, because it seems like they when it comes to the legacy character, she's always the most protected, where she doesn't really get in harm's way. She always
Mhm.
finds her way unscathed. I don't know if her family will be the target in the Scream 7 film, but I think this would be a great way to reintroduce her and kind of have her be in the movie to where it's like not only is she in danger, but her family's in danger too, which would create a great dynamic. But
Yeah.
where do you think she goes as far as the tier list goes? Because I think she could be goaded, but I think she can also go memorable as well.
She's definitely goaded for me
Okay.
because, like you said, she is the final girl of Scream. She's been around for so long, and to an extent, I can kind of understand not having her so in the middle of everything lately because I feel
Yeah.
like she went through enough. Um, since Scream One, she's
Yeah.
like they explain it. She finally found her peace and she's moving on with her family and her adult life. So they're trying to let her be. So I can understand that for sure. As far as her return in Scream 7, I agree with you. I think it's probably going to be like a family thing where they're going after the family. And I think that that will be pretty cool because I think that if something happens to her family, she's definitely going to snap. And I've always wondered, we've seen her snap before, but how crazy can Sydney get if you like mess with her family? If you go that far to a dynamic where she's finally built this life where she's not being followed by these ghost face killers, how far can you make her go if something happens to her family? And that's something that I'm excited to see.
Definitely, because if you have her, like you said, if she snaps, like imagine if one of the Ghostface killers attacks or kills one of her family members. I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
that would set her over the edge and bring her back even more into the fold now than ever because we've seen a lot of stuff that's happened in her life in the Scream franchise thus far. I mean, having her boyfriend be the killer, having her brother, who we'll talk about later, being a killer, losing somebody who was looked at as her best friend and a brother at the same time, and Dewey Riley. So now having all that taken away from her, and then on top of that, her mother being brutally, everything that's happened with her, and then now her family's involved too. Oh yeah, she's definitely be set off. She's
Yeah.
definitely gonna be set off now. And I'm looking forward to what her character is gonna be like, come Scream 7. The next person we're gonna talk about is also an OG Ghostface, Stu Marker, somebody who I want to see return. I feel like I think a lot of Scream fans, myself included, are just waiting to see if they're gonna pull the trigger on that, if he does
Mhm.
come back, and if his death was staged. Because I don't think he really died. I really don't. I really don't.
I I want to see a return as well, and I know this is such a like touchy subject with everybody. Some people hate the idea of him coming back. Some people love the idea of him coming back. I personally could see him coming back, even if it's. I talked about this with one of my friends and fellow YouTubers, Killjoy Jake. We talked
Yeah,
about the potential return of Stu in a movie, and we said even if it's something where Sydney's finally reached her breaking point and she needs help and she has to go to like a psychiatric hospital and have a sit down talk with him in like a padded room where he's handcuffed and ask him for advice on what's in the mind of a ghost face killer. How do I beat this guy? Even something like that, I would like to see. So it doesn't even have to be like a
him being a
full-on
ghost face or
a
anything.
full-on Ghostface role, no. But if he's not dead, I'd love to see him and Sydney maybe have like a sit down talk in like a prison or like a mental hospital, something like that, just to kill the rumor of is he dead or not, and just to give us a little bit of fan service after so long of wanting to see him
Definitely.
back.
I would say that too, and it'll be a great shift in his character because I mean, people looked at him as the lackey and very psychotic, and I think a lot of people's rumors or like fantasies that they want to see about him is pretty much having a cult of ghost faces and him being the leader in charge of it, which I wouldn't be upset about because I think that'd be cool to see him come back in a role like that. But I think him kind of being like the voice of reason to kind of help Sydney kind of be able to
Hmm.
deal with this new generation of ghost faces if you want to bring him back as an actual character, like you said, have him be in a psychiatric, but him kind of being coming back into the franchise as being part of the instead of being part of the ghost faces, have him be part of the legacy characters, have him be part of helping Sydney and Gail and this new generation of people getting attacked by these ghost faces deal with it. I think that kind of be cool as well.
Yeah, because maybe he's mad that everyone keeps trying to replicate what him and his friend Billy wanted to do in the first place. Maybe he's sick of people trying to be what he wanted to be. So he's trying to help, Sydney and all of them kill off these new Ghostface killers. And I think that just something like a Silence of the Lambs, like Clarice is going to talk to Hannibal Lecter, and he's just dropping her little hints and stuff. Just something
Yeah.
like that. That could be so cool to do, and it would be such a fresh twist for this as well. So, but as far as the tier list goes, I just love Matthew Lillard.
You
So
gotta love him. I gotta put him in goaded though. I
yeah,
have
I
to.
gotta agree with you. I gotta
I
agree with
I He's literally, even though he wasn't as good of a ghost face as, Billy, but he was still good in his character nonetheless. Like he came off as the funny guy, but he can instantly flip the switch in a
you. Yeah.
blink of an eye, and I love that. And I think when you look at the kill pattern and like how they did their kills, I feel like Stu, even though he was the funnier one, he had some of the more brutal kills though. Like
Oh, he's
Billy was
crazy.
more just
He's
stab, stab,
psycho.
stabby. He was just stabbing.
Yeah.
Like Billy was stabbed, but Stu was more like brutal with it, like the
It's
gutting
like
and stuff
Stu
like that.
liked the idea of, like, toying with people, and
Before, yeah, yeah, and I like that. And I think I want to see more ghost faces kind of tap into that where they don't just automatically kill you right away. They want to toy with you and kind of feed at your mind a little bit before
mm,
you snap. So I want to see that maybe if he does come back in the future franchise for sure. The next character we're gonna be talking about is a sibling of Dewey Riley, none other than Tatum. Um,
I'm in love with this woman.
Tatum has got to be
She
goaded. I'm
it
sorry, even though
was
she's a side character, even though Tatum was a side character, she still played her role very great.
she was so good.
Either
She was so
goaded or memorable. Either goaded or
it was hard
memorable.
for I'm okay, I might be biased because she's, like, one of the most attractive, uh, female actresses I've ever seen in a Scream movie. Like,
I,
she It was hard for me to even pay attention during the movie. Like
It's fine,
she
man. It's
she is
fine.
beautiful. But I'd say probably memorable.
Yeah.
Uh I don't know, just the way she acted and everything. Her character was really cool. I feel like she was a really good friend to Sydney. Mm.
It's true. She didn't have a problem going with like going at a Ghostface. Like you see the sequence that between her and Ghostface in Scream One. Like she didn't just stand there and just play all these games with Ghostface. She was ready to fight, and
Yeah.
I liked that. Um, One thing I will say, I know she is related to Dewey. I wish they would have gotten a sequence to where Dewey would have been able to respond in a sense of like how he would have felt about how he felt about Tatum's death and stuff like that because they never really,
Yeah, we never
capitalized
really
on
got
that
that
and had a
much. We
follow up.
never really got that. We never
I know they
really.
kind of I think because I think in Scream 5, you had her ashes on his mantle. You had that. And I think they was going to make a reference to it in Scream 4, but they cut that out at the last minute. So if you guys who are Scream fans, go to like the deleted scenes, and there's a deleted scene where he has a dialogue talking about Tatum. So I wish they would have followed up on that story as far as Dewey's character following that, and kind of instead of just making it feel like her death was just forgotten about. But she was still a great character nonetheless. I would have wished they could have kept her around a little bit longer, but that was neither here or there. Um, the next character is another side character. I mean, if you guys love you some Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we got to talk about CC Cooper. Um, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this one. She had a cameo in the Scream 2 movie where she was part of like this horror club and stuff like that, but they didn't really give her much material. They didn't really give her much material to kind of work with for us to as a character or fan watching it to really be invested in. I mean, yes, we knew her just because of her previous work, but outside of that, we really didn't see much.
Yeah, her whole character is kind of a blur for me, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say who are you because we know who she is, but I'm gonna just say she had her moment.
She had her moment. Yeah,
Cotton Weary.
I hate Cotton Weary.
I mean,
I hate him, dude.
okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. He even said in a recent interview, I think a couple of months ago, probably about a year ago, he wishes he did. He proposed to having himself get killed off in the Scream 3, and I think as they were heading into Scream 5, I think he said he wishes he didn't have his character get killed off. He wished he was still in the franchise. But could you imagine what like his whole character would look like if he was still in the franchise right now? I really don't. I don't think he would have made it that far,
I can't really
regardless.
see it. I can't really see it making sense.
No, because it's like the first one he was considered being a killer and he went to jail for it. So he was just a cameo in the first one. He came into Scream second as pretty much trying to be exonerated and pretty much be forgotten about as this killer and trying to change the narrative of what people thought. And then Scream 3, he was like he went right back to being the opening kill and a cameo on top of that. So it's
Yeah,
like he really didn't have much. They didn't really do anything with
mm.
him. So
I'd
I'm gonna
say
just say he was decent, I guess. He wasn't the
I,
worst, but it wasn't the best
he
either.
played a big enough role to be above having his moment. So
Yeah. He's gonna go right next to Gale on this one. The next one, the boyfriend of Sydney and Scream 2, Derek, or Jerry O'Connell.
um,
I
it
like
was
what they
kind of
did.
hard because watching the whole movie, I expected him to be the killer the whole time.
Exactly. I thought he was. His facial expressions, they played it up to the fact that like he could have been a red herring at the most part.
Yeah,
But I think there was a deleted if you for people who actually look at the scripts, like like they have different rewrites. And one of the rewrites he was supposed to be one of the killers. It was supposed to be him and Mickey, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But I think having the dialogue with kind of keeping that story going is to where Sydney, the people that are close to her are the ones she can't trust. I would have think that would have created for some compelling stories going forward because now she's been done wrong by the people that she loves, like her
yeah.
significant other in these films. You had Billy in the first one, then now you have Derek in the second one. So I think that would have been something I would love to see. But I think I think you didn't want to. I think the people didn't want to have a repeat too much, so they kind of had to
Mhm.
change it the last minute. Um, but I still think he was a decent enough character. He wasn't the best, because like the reason why I say he wasn't the best. Look at the scene when he was singing it in the actual cafeteria. I didn't like that. Like
Yeah,
if
uh-huh.
if they had him be a killer, I would have just probably walked out of the theater because it's like why?
That's probably why, because obviously after the first one, everyone's gonna expect her boyfriend to be the killer again, especially with, like, any little thing happens and then it kinda cuts to him and it's like, "Where were you?" And it's like, I was so and so." It's like, "Okay, we all expect you to be the killer anyway." So they probably just played it like that anyways, but, I mean, I think he had a decent character. It wasn't memorable, it wasn't bad, but I'd say decent for me.
Definitely. I'll put her in decent. He'll go right next to Cotton. Her friend from Scream 2, Hallie. I think she was supposed to be one of the killers in Scream 2 as well. But they changed that at the last minute. I don't know how I would have felt about it at the time, just because she never really gave me like psycho or potentially could be killer vibes for me. Um,
I have absolutely 0 recollection of this character.
I'm gonna put her. She was okay, but she wasn't the best. She wasn't a good character when you look at the plethora of like other characters that we've gotten throughout the franchise. So I would put her at half their moment. She wasn't the worst, but she was very close for me putting in Who Are You, just because I never really liked her character. She just came. She was pretty much just part of um the party crew. She was just with a lot of the sororities. So
Yeah, and this
that was it.
just to go ahead and clarify for you, a lot of these coming up that I'm looking at on the list, especially like majority of the ones from the 3rd movie and a couple from 4, I'm basically gonna piggyback off of you because those movies are complete blurs for me right now.
It's fine, and we'll kind of like meet in the middle, and then we'll kind of talk about if I remember anything from some of these characters. But the next one, Joel. Um, he was funny. He was very funny for me
I
because
feel like I remember funny parts, but I can't remember
yeah.
anything exact.
So I remember he had a dialogue because he was the cameraman for Gale, and he says, I think one of the my favorite lines. He says, "I'm gonna do what a normal black person would do in this situation. I'm getting out of here." And I like the fact that he did that, but I don't like the fact that he just came back at the end as if like we forgot that you said you were gonna leave. Why did
Yeah.
you come back? I mean, at least he didn't get killed off, so I don't know if they ever plan to bring him back. Maybe. I don't know. But he had his moment. I mean, he had some funny moments, but he was never gonna come off as a killer to me. I just don't think they would ever do that. I don't think they will.
No.
Maureen Evans, played by Jada Pinkett Smith in the movie. I don't know. I think she had her moment as well, considering her
Memorable
death.
death.
Yeah,
Memorable
because
death
it's
for
like
sure.
they like a lot of the kills you have, you know, in a closed setting. This is like one of the only few kills that we've gotten in the entire franchise where it was in broad. Well, I wouldn't say even broad day, but like in public,
Yeah, and I
and
like
people
that
really didn't see it.
it showed a lot of, it showed, like, the mob mentality, like, the people were going so crazy in the theater that, like, you didn't even realize there's a lady dying right in front of you.
Until that she got on stage.
Yeah, so that was a memorable death. That whole sequence was pretty cool for me, actually.
Yeah, I would say she had her moment as well.
Yeah, for
She had her
sure.
moment. This might be underrated, but this might be one of my favorite Ghostface killers, Mickey Altiera. Mickey Mickey to me, it's like he already kind of came off as like a creep or like a Ghostface killer just because of his bloodthirst for movies and horror movies. So
Mhm.
I automatically thought he was probably gonna be a killer. But then I think his motive was different. He says Billy was somebody that didn't want to get caught, killing people. Mickey was somebody who didn't care about getting caught, and his motive of blaming the movies for creating psychos. I think that was a great like narrative for being a reason to do what you're doing. Like we don't really get people who have motives like that. Like the fact that and it showed that he's a psycho. He's a sick
Mhm.
psycho. Like you want to get caught doing something like that. So I liked it his character. Um, where would I put him though? I'm gonna try to meet you in the middle on this one. I say he was decent.
I could agree. I could agree with that.
He
Just
was
because I
memorable.
I can I can get behind the motive as well, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
He wasn't goated. You could probably make the argument for him being memorable, but when you look at the Ghostface killers, he kind of somewhat on the weaker side.
mhm.
But his character was still cool, so I'll put him in decent. Um, Mrs. Loomis, the
I
mother
didn't
of
like the
Billy.
character. I didn't like the character. I didn't like the
I
idea of it
didn't.
either.
I'm gonna put her as, you know, I'm gonna save Who Are You for like some of the worst characters. She was
Yeah.
bad. Don't get me wrong,
We
she was bad.
we might as
But
well make the "Who are you" a "Who are you" slash "You suck."
I'm down to do that. I'm down to do that
Because
because
we remember the character, but I don't want anyone getting confused. We definitely remember how bad this character was. I hated this.
so this will pretty much serve as like two categories. Either we don't know you or your character just completely sucked as just a character or a ghost face.
Yeah.
If you're either one, you're going here. Phil Stevens. I mean, he came up as a creep too, because you're peeping while someone's in the restroom, but his death was cool. You got
I
stabbed
was
with
gonna say the death, and I mean the bathroom scene. It was cool. I like that whole scene. I'd put him in Had Their Moment too. I just really like that
agreed.
scene.
He can go right next to her. Um, I forgot her name, but I think it was Jocelyn, Josephine, or something like that. But her, she always came off as a creep. Something was off about her. I do think in the earlier parts of the movie, there were plans to have her be one of the Scream killers, but they canceled that at the last minute. Um, she didn't
Mhm.
do it for me. She really didn't do it for me. Like out of all the characters in Scream 3, she was I mean, there's a lot of them that didn't do it for me, but she was the main one of the main ones that didn't do it for me at all. Especially if
Yeah.
you were trying to set her up as being a Ghostface killer, she did not do it. She was not it for me. She wasn't.
I'll I'll piggyback off you on this one because I don't. It's not memorable for me. But like I said, a lot of these next ones coming up, I don't really remember.
Angelina, that was her name. But uh, I'm gonna put her. She's going at the bottom of the barrel for me. I'm sorry.
I mean,
I She sucked for me.
it's Who Are You for me anyway, so I can agree.
It was gonna be both for me. It was gonna be you. Who are you? And you suck. It's both for me. The next one, I think, she also played as a character, pretty much being a copycat of Gale. Out of
Mhm.
all three characters, she was like, she really shined in that movie.
Yeah,
Like, I know people look at that movie as bad and being like one of the weaker in the franchise, but when you look at it, she definitely shined throughout that movie. You know what? I'm probably gonna put her at memorable. I
that's
think
fair.
she's got to be one of the familiar faces, I would say. But then again, I think they could have done more with her. The movie director, I think Milton, something his name like that. He sucked, and he also was a creep.
I don't remember, so
He was a creep. He was a creep, and he like I remember watching this as like 6 years old, and I'm like I'm being creeped out by this guy. Like, what are we doing? Um, Mark Kincaid. I think in storyline he is married to Sydney, so you're probably gonna see him in Scream 7, more than likely. Um, I like how they painted the picture with him in Scream 3. They painted the picture as he could be a killer or a red herring, and they played it throughout. Looked like he had an obsession with Sydney, as you kind of seen his office and having a lot of the pictures and the newspapers with Sydney's stories going on in it. And I like the way they painted that. And him coming out as pretty much not really being a killer, but him moving out of the way to protect Sydney in Scream 3, I think
Mhm.
kind of released all doubt that he could be a killer. And I feel like if you're probably gonna do Scream 7, I wouldn't say he's gonna get killed off, but I think he's gonna put himself in harm's way to protect Sydney and his family, to say the
For
least.
sure, for sure. I mean, there's no way, you have a family and you're not gonna put yourself in harm's way for your wife or your children. So, he's probably going to play a much larger role
Than he
in
did in
7
Scream 3, yeah.
with this following Sydney in her life. So
But Scream 3, I think he was decent. He was decent.
I can
He
agree with
was
that.
in the middle of the road. He wasn't the best, but he wasn't the worst either. So he was okay.
I can agree.
Martha Meeks, the sister of Randy. I know the last time we seen her was in Scream 5, and before that was Scream 3. She never really had a big role in any of the Scream Fran movies whatsoever. She's always been a cameo or something like that, or just been there for one scene. I mean, she was there in Scream 3 to show the legacy characters the tape of Randy talking about the rules. And then
Mhm.
in Scream 5, she pretty much just was there to kind of have all the people at her house. She really didn't have really much of a role in Scream 5 at all. The
Yeah,
only time she really had a
she
role.
had her moments. She had her
Yeah,
moments.
she had maybe one or two moments, so I'll put her here. Um, the next one, Roman Bridger. Now, he's the only single character that's been a Ghostface. Everybody else had a partner. I will give the upper hand to him as far as the Ghostface is concerned, him doing everything by himself, but he really didn't do it for me. His
I hate
motivation,
his character. I hate his character more than I hated Billy Loomis's mom. I can't
oh, I
stand
agree.
I
I
cannot
feel like,
stand
and
this
this
dude.
is might be, I feel like him as a Ghostface stuck, right? Well,
Mm,
no, Ghostface was okay. It's not the worst Ghostface because I'm pretty sure there's another
well,
Ghostface that I'm thinking of that was way
he
worse.
was he the first one with to use the bulletproof vest?
Yes,
Yeah, so that scene where, they shot him and stuff and you think they finally got him or whatever, and then he comes up and he has the bulletproof vest on. That was pretty cool. That's smart on his part.
he was the smarter one.
Yeah, he was very smart and meticulous as a ghost face. I just hated the character.
Yeah, and especially coming out to find out that this is Sydney's brother, and he kind
Mhm.
of set the path to have Billy do what he did. I think he kind of played a huge role, even though it was behind the scenes,
Mhm.
with being a mastermind to have people do stuff like this. I'm not gonna say he sucked. I'm not gonna put him at the bottom. I'm gonna put him at he had his moment because talking
That's
about
fair.
him having the bulletproof vest and stuff like that, and him being the brother, which was a shocking moment too. I think that kind of still holds weight, even though it's not a lot.
Yeah,
So
that took me off guard.
definitely, Sarah, Sarah Darling, she's going to suck.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't even remember that
like
character, so that's fine.
she had her moment when she just got killed off, and she was just one of the people that was there, in the franchise to help with the movie. Didn't care. She
Okay.
didn't do it for me. She bored me. I'm sorry. When I seen her scenes in the movies, I wanted to flip the screen. I really did. Um, the bodyguard from Scream 3, I forgot his name, but he actually Patrick Wahlberg or something like that. I think that's his name. Even though he didn't have much to do, he just felt like he was much really just being himself, just cool and laid back.
I don't really
He did
remember
get
him
he
either.
did get hit with a frying pan across the head, so I think that was kind of funny, but I don't know.
Um,
He didn't really have a
I mean, if
moment.
yeah, but if you're remembering a moment, then I guess technically he had his moment.
Yeah, getting hit with a frying pan numerous times, and then that's
Well, I
about
mean,
it.
I guess that counts.
I guess you can put that. I feel like that's gonna be at the bottom of had their moment. Um, the guy that plays Dewey, I think his name is Prince or something like that. Oh, you suck, man.
Yeah,
No.
that's fine.
Um, Tyson. I think out of the cast that they were trying to do for the stab, he was like the best one, or at least top two, because he kind of played the Randy character, better than I would have
Mhm.
expected. But even then, it wasn't the best. I say he was right decent. I wouldn't say he's probably close to decent, but he had his moment too, especially with him like his dialogue after getting attacked by Ghostface and then doing the flip and then getting thrown off the roof.
Yeah.
Um, that was cool. Now we're starting to kind of transition it from to Scream 3 and kind of getting into Scream 4 a little bit. So we're getting closer to the end. Charlie Walker, I'm sorry, he's going to you sucked. This
I
was
agree.
gotta be my favorite. He was the worst Ghostface, the worst.
I agree.
He
I
Roman Bridger was not good either, but he was way better than Charlie.
I just did
You're
not.
telling me that Jill, who we're about to talk about in just a sec, did a lot of the heavy lifting, and you literally didn't do much of anything. You didn't.
And then you fumble your chance with Kirby like an idiot. You want to sit here and cut people, and you got Hayden Panettiere over here. You're a geek, and you got Hayden Panettiere over here falling for you, and you fumble the bag. What is wrong with you?
Not once, but numerous times you
What
fumbled,
is
and as
wrong
soon
with
as
you?
she suspects that you could probably be a killer, you get mad and you stab her for what?
Yeah, bro, that's crazy.
And then and what happens? Your own partner. And then the fact that you're supposedly talking about you're about to be the new Sydney and Randy. Oh no, you're not to be from the new Sydney and Randy. You died. You got
Yeah,
stabbed in the heart
yeah,
by the own person that you're helping
yeah,
orchestrate the
bro.
entire thing.
No
He's the
way.
worst Ghostface. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
that
I I,
sucked.
I would have. We're gonna talk about another character in from Scream 4 who I would have preferred way more to see as a Ghostface than Charlie. Charlie did not add anything for me as a character, and definitely not as a Ghostface. I'm sorry. The next person we're gonna talk about is Jill Roberts, the killer from Scream 4, the cousin of Sydney.
Goat,
She's goaded. She's goaded.
goated.
Like the
She
first
was an
female
amazing
character as
ghost
a
face,
ghost face. I think she kind of set the tone for female ghost faces because we
for
really hadn't
sure,
seen a female ghost faces, and then after that, we're starting to see more. I think honestly, she's got to be the best female ghost face that we've had right now, the best
for
one.
sure, for sure. And I didn't expect her to be the ghost face either.
For some reason, I kind of did. I
I
kind of
didn't,
did.
which was weird because usually you can, going into Scream movie and you're already thinking you're like, okay, this person's probably one of them. But I just didn't, and they played it so well with like how scared she was during the Ghostface scenes, or like how Ghostface would like be chasing her, or they'd make it seem like he's coming after her. It it just caught me completely off guard.
I would agree, and I feel like her being the cousin and her motive is pretty much everybody knows who Sydney is, but everybody doesn't know about me. I need to make a name
Mhm.
for myself as well. So that's why she kind of orchestrated the whole team to kind of get people to pay attention to her more. She wanted to be famous. She wanted to be in the spotlight, and to do that, she was going to take out Sydney. Unfortunately, that did not work in her favor, of course. But I think her character throughout was really, really special for me on all honesty, especially for having a female as a ghost face and everything like that. The next character we're gonna be talking about is Judy Hicks, from Scream 4 and 5, because that's the only two she was in. Um, I don't know. I feel like she was an okay character. Her
I
death
feel
was
like
cool.
yeah, just because of 5, I feel like she had her moment. Um,
Yeah, and then Scream 4, they kind of set it to where she could have been a Ghostface as well, just because of how they were painting her, and seems like how she was trying to be all buddy buddy with Dewey. And
mhm.
like, you remember how like I think there was a scene where Sydney was in a house and pretty much she came out of the dark. That kind of gave me like, oh yeah, she probably could be a killer vibe. And the fact that that was not the case was I wouldn't say shocking, but it was something that I kind of would have seen coming if she was a killer. And
Yeah,
then she ended up getting
she
killed when
ended
she
up just
died.
kinda being a little bit of a weirdo.
Yeah, more like a red herring, like, pretty
Yeah.
much I feel like she was really trying to get with Dewey in Scream 4, if you can kinda tell because how she was, like, being all buddy-buddy with
Yeah,
him.
wasn't she, like, making him pies and stuff?
Yeah,
And
she and then 'cause, like, I think she gave Dewey lemon squares and, I
yeah,
don't
that's
and
what it
he
was.
and then Dewey's like, "I don't think Gail will approve of that." And then she got the nerve to say, "Well, I don't think it'll be cheating if you eat my lemon squares." I'm like, watching the movie, I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" What do you
Yeah.
mean by that? Like, do you mean just like the dessert, or you mean something more intimate? Because I
Can we
don't
talk
think
about how Dewey was pulling? Like,
he was.
Dewey
He
was kinda
really
popping
was.
off, bro. Dewey was kinda popping off.
Because it's like it's like if he would have, because you could imagine that, like, because people would have been so upset, and I understand. I don't understand this. People are given a pass to literally like Gail, doing what she did in Scream 6. being with somebody else after she lost Dewey. But let's be honest, if the roles were reversed and Gail was the one to get killed off, and Judy was still around, and he got with Judy, people would have been pissed.
Yeah.
People would have been pissed.
Yeah, that'd
People
be
would have been really pissed
crazy.
off about that. Like you been with Gail, you were married to her in real life, and this is what you do. You get with Judy. I mean, but he was bullying though. That was his side chick. I don't
Yeah.
care how you put
Yeah.
it. That was his side chick.
He was definitely getting some lemon squares when Garrett wasn't looking. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I would
That's
agree.
all I'm saying.
Because think about it, when Gail went to to New York or Hollywood or whatever it was, and Dewey was still left in Woodsboro, I'm pretty sure he was sneaking around on the
Yeah.
low.
Yeah, y'all seen each other a couple times. You had to. Come on.
Yeah,
Small town.
like come on now.
Small town. Yeah.
So I would have put her, and she had her moment throughout the franchise. Oh, we're about to talk about this one. Hayden Panettiere, Kirby Reed. She's memorable. She's going up there memorable for me.
Yeah, Hayden Panettiere is one of the loves of my life. Um,
Yeah, definitely
and
worth the franchise people.
she was awesome in 4. She was awesome when she returned in the newer movie. Um,
Probably in 7 she'll be in there too. Probably have more of
yeah,
a
I
bigger
assume she'll be
role.
in 7. Did you see the rumors that they might make like a spin-off show of her?
I heard the rumors about that. I'm looking forward to it if that is the case.
Yeah, if they do that, it'd be interesting to see her and like her like FBI and detective work and stuff, and like following other crimes and stuff. But she's awesome, and anything I've seen her in, she's been awesome. So
Definitely.
definitely memorable for me. Yeah.
Especially with how they played her character in Scream 6, like, they kinda had her be like the officer, kinda be like the Dewey kind of character in a sense,
Mhm.
but they kinda played her up as being a potential killer, which I wouldn't have been mad at. I wouldn't have been mad at, like, what happened to her in Scream 4, traumatized her to the point she just snapped and became a killer. I wouldn't be mad at it, but I prefer her just being this new addition to the legacy characters for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I'm looking forward to see what they do with her character in the upcoming Scream 7 if she is indeed going to be a part of the film. The next person we're gonna be talking about is Olivia. Her character sucked because she just came off as just like the slut, I guess, the person that sleeps with
Yeah, I don't
everybody.
really remember her.
But her death was very brutal.
What was her death?
She got stabbed numerous times. She got gutted, and she literally got thrown out the window and was hanging by the
Okay.
ghost. So
Mm.
this was like the first brutal kill that I've seen in Scream up until this point. Like,
Yeah, 4 started to step it up and push the boundaries a little bit.
so she had her moment.
Okay,
Rebecca, she was pretty much the assistant in Scream 4 to Sydney. She sucked.
that's fair.
She sucked. Um, what's this guy's name? He was he was a sidekick for
Uh,
what's his name? Let me see if I can
I
see.
don't remember what his name was.
Robbie. His name was Robbie. He was
He
a
was okay
sidekick
for
for.
me.
He was better than his counterpart.
Yeah,
His
for
death was
sure.
cool. He had, now this is where we're gonna talk about this one, because this is the guy who I thought was probably gonna be a way better killer than Rich. Not Richie, which we'll get to later. Charlie.
Mm.
Trevor was a better character than Charlie, and I feel like if he was a Ghostface, he would have been a way better Ghostface than Charlie. I'm gonna just be honest.
Mm.
But his death wasn't brutal, but his but Jill pretty much shot him twice. Shot him in the head, and he shot him in the penis. That was that was pretty much what happened. So she
Well,
said,
what
"I'm
would you
not
say
gonna
then?
shoot
Had his
you."
moment, or
Yeah, he had his moment. He came off as a red herring, as a potential killer, but that was about it. Um, moving on to Scream 5. Amber.
that's my girl, dude.
Only reason why I would put her, a little bit higher on the list because I did not like her character, but the only thing that people remember her for is for killing Dewey. That's it.
Well,
Her
she
character wasn't
see. I have several memorable moments when she killed Dewey.
definitely.
The very end where it was revealed that she was Ghostface and she pulled out the gun and shot old girl in the head. That was insane.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
that's 2 moments, yeah.
the hand sanitizer and stove scene,
Oh,
that was
yeah, that
crazy.
was kind of fun. Now that was really cool because
That and then you think
She
she's dead, and she started running with her head on fire, and she's all
Before
melting.
Tara
And
got
that
her.
stuff was crazy. I like that. That gave me like Child's Play 2 vibes. Like that was
Exactly.
insane.
And it's like, I wouldn't say her character was the worst, but I wasn't invested. But her Ghostface character stuff was really cool. Like when she came out of the Ghostface stuff, and then they talk about the motive, we had to kill the legacy characters to make it more believable. Like you know, we had to kill Dewey to make because to show that the movie has actual stakes to it, which I actually
Yeah.
like that motivation. So
Mhm.
her character was really cool. Her killing Dewey was probably my only thing is I'm not saying this to really upset anybody. I just would have thought that the person that would have killed Dewey would have been a guy. I would have never in a million years would have seen Dewey getting killed off by a woman. I really just didn't.
Mhm.
Especially if he was kind of like way taller than her and should have, quote unquote, been able to outpower her and outmaneuver her.
Well,
So
I guess that's the thing about just Ghostface. It could be literally anybody. And it's like as soon as someone gets that costume on, girl or guy, it's like they have like super strength or something.
yeah,
So maybe it's just
indeed.
the confidence that comes with wearing that mask that makes you so strong.
Maybe we need to get the costume or something because I already have it. Maybe we need to wear it a lot more often and see if we can get more confidence or something. Because apparently that's what's happening. Apparently that's what's happening because these people become like immortal, like next to untouchable. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like she literally killed Dewey in a brutal fashion, stabbed in the abdomen, stabbed in the back, and ripped up.
Ugh. Yeah,
And
she
then
was bad, dude.
before he dies, she says, "It's an honor."
It's an
Pretty
honor.
much pretty
Yeah,
much saying it's an honor to kill you. It's like, "Oh my god." And I still get goosebumps looking back at it. Even when I still watch it current day, I still get goosebumps just watching that scene even current day. So I would say she has to be memorable for me
for sure.
after talking about it.
For sure.
Like Chad.
I love Chad, dude.
Yeah, he and like I said earlier, he's like the second coming of Dewey because if you're looking
Mhm.
at like how they portray Dewey, he gets stabbed and gets stabbed so many times and he comes back. He got stabbed in Scream 5. He came back. He was still alive. I thought he was for sure dead in Scream 6 cuz both ghost faces stabbed him, took turns
Yeah,
stabbing him at the same time.
dude, I'm telling you, when it was when they, like, wheeled him out and he was alive in 6, I
I'm like,
don't I pride myself in being a strong male, and I try not to cry. But when I watched that in the theater, I literally cried. I was like, "You're kidding me right now," because it was just like and him and Tara like reuniting right there because they had just like got together,
yeah.
and it
Yeah,
was
and
like,
I'm
oh,
definitely, and
man.
I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna continue that angle going forward is for them probably being together or having a relationship. But you can kind of see what they're trying to do. They're mirroring kind of like Gail and Dewey a little bit, kind of with Chad and Tara here. So I
Mhm,
kind of see what that's what they're trying to go for. And Chad is kind of being like the new Dewey because it's like you're having him take all this damage but come back. And I feel like if they ever do kill him off, it's going to be probably like a brutal fashion if they're going to kill him off. I don't think it's going to be like just him getting stabbed enough or something like that and he's done.
mhm.
It's going to have to be something along the lines of what happened to Dewey for him to be actually down and out for the count.
Yeah,
So, but his ranking, as far as the character, he's memorable.
for sure.
I think he's definitely starting. I think if you look at his progression from 5 up until 6, he kind of transitioned from being just a side character for him to being probably one of the main characters to look out for with this new generation of cast. I think he's definitely paid his dues and he's starting to become more of a bigger role and a bigger figure in the franchise as a whole. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with him in Scream 7 if he's going to be because I think he is.
Yeah,
I believe he
I'm
will.
hoping he is.
Because last time I checked, him and Mindy were signed on, so
Like,
they'll probably be signed on for sure. Who we got to talk about this one next? Liv, not Liv Morgan, you guys. Liv. Um, her character gave me creepy vibes to where she could have probably been part of the plan to be a killer.
yeah, I I didn't like her. She was a creep. I don't think she was a good girlfriend.
She wasn't
Uh,
good to Chad, no, because she
no,
still was with Vincent.
she was not good to Chad. I think the most memorable part was her getting shot in the head. I think that was pretty
That
cool.
Yeah, because like you said, she came off as a creep. Like when you had her be introduced, her and Chad, they were just being all cuddly, cuddly. She looks over and sees Vince, and then while everybody leaves to go attend to Tara, who's been pretty much stabbed and now is in the hospital, she stays behind. Now it
Yeah,
wasn't said what she stood behind for, but we could all speculate that she was probably getting a little nasty with Vincent once
yeah,
again.
yeah.
She was
So
not a good for Chad. Chad found better, if we can all agree on that.
yeah, for sure.
Did she suck though?
I mean, yeah, she sucked as a
Yes.
person. I mean,
I would put her she's gotta be like the only one that I would probably put as stuck in Scream 5 for me. I didn't
yeah,
like her. Mindy. I actually like she is really playing this Randy character really
yeah.
good.
I was just about to say I don't not like her, but
It can be annoying too.
it can be, and it's like we kind of already seen this with Randy, and I know that's she's literally like Randy's niece, and they're having her like replay his character and let his legacy live on and stuff, but she just kind of went overboard a little bit
Yeah,
with
especially in
it.
6. Like fifth was in the fifth one she was tolerable, but the sixth one I feel like they're kind of just going a little overboard with it, in my personal opinion.
I don't know her on like the subway train by herself.
Oh, that was really
That
cool.
was pretty
I
cool.
thought she was about to die.
Yeah, that
I
was
really
pretty.
did. Now this might be just a bold prediction. I know we're going to talk about these other characters, but as of right now, if you had to make a prediction, out of the two twins of Mindy and Chad, who do you think is probably the most likely one to be killed off first? If you had to pick.
Probably Mindy.
Yeah,
'Cause I feel like they have a little bit more to explore with Chad. Um,
definitely. Because it's like character progression wise, Chad it provides me more than Mindy. Mindy, it's just being the smarty know it all, knowing the rules, pretty much being the Randy character. But outside of that, we haven't really explained the dimensions of her character just yet.
yeah, because Chad's character was something a little bit new. It's like Mindy, yeah, she's just like the second coming of Randy, whatever. Chad, he was like at first kind of like this jock that everybody thought was going to be like some douchebag, but then he turned out to be like a really good guy, and now he's a really good friend. He's protecting himself for his friends,
He's the
and
Dewey of this new
yeah,
generation.
for sure, for sure. So I'd definitely keep Chad alive, but for Mindy,
She's gonna have to go.
I'd say she's a decent character. I mean,
Yeah,
she just
she's
doesn't
she's
really do
not
it for
bad, but she's definitely not on the same, you know, pecking order than as Chad. Because like you
me.
said, Chad he's had his progression, right? Like you said, he was the jock that people thought was probably gonna be a douchebag to everybody and everything like that. But now you're seeing like this dimension of his character where he's a really a nice guy. He's protective of Tara and Sam and his sister, and
Yeah.
pretty much will go to bat for all of them and pretty much put himself in harm's way to protect them, which is something that we all know that Dewey did as well when it came to Gale and Sydney. So we're kind of seeing a mirroring of, so to speak, of him doing just that. And I think we're probably going to see more of that probably in Scream 7 for sure. But definitely, he's definitely memorable. He's probably going to be like out of this new generation or cast, so to speak, he's one of my favorites right now. He's got to be one
Yeah.
of my favorites. Um, On to Richie Kirsch, Jack Quaid. Did I think he was going to be a killer? I didn't see it. He didn't give me killer vibes. He just gave me like really wanted to be a boyfriend to it. He gave me like Derek
Yeah.
vibes, but a little bit more
I mean,
creepier.
you could kind of with how obsessed he was with the stab movies though, you could kind of assume because like, they're all in the hospital and he's over in the corner like binge watching the stab movies.
Exactly. And then he
So it's
has the
kind of
nerve to
like
think he's never seen it.
it's kind of odd, and I mean, like you say, never trust the love interest, so you kind of assume anyways. Um but phenomenal Ghostface in my opinion. I think he was really
Definitely.
good.
Yeah, when he turned the switch, I actually liked it. When he turned the
Mhm.
switch and kind of went from just this goody goody nice guy to really just being a full on psycho. I liked it, and the
But, you know,
fact that
Jack
he's doing
Jack
this.
Quaid is so good at playing characters like that anyways.
Yeah, man. Some of this stuff that I've seen him do recently has been really good too. Like
Yeah, so
he's definitely going to be somebody that I think people are going to be looking forward to seeing in a lot more horror franchises, especially with the work that he did in Scream 5 for sure. And his
for
death was really cool, being
yeah,
stabbed over and over and over by Sam. And then
yeah,
as and then you have like Billy playing a factor in here as while he was about to put Sam away, you see Sam looking in the mirror and sees Billy talking to her and kind of gives the signal that there's the knife, use it. She goes full on ghost face mode and
yeah.
brutally kills this man, stabbed numerous times and slit his throat. And then she shoots him afterwards to make sure he's down. She
Gotta
didn't
make
want him
sure.
coming back.
Gotta make sure.
So he was definitely a good character. I would say he was. Do I want to put him at decent or memorable? Because he
I'd say
wasn't on the
decent.
same. You say decent because
Yeah,
when it came to Amber and Richie, Amber was kind of still a league above him, but he was a bit
yeah,
too far. We have the new, so quote unquote, final girl that they're trying to build up, that being Samantha Carpenter.
I
Um,
love Samantha. I think
she's not goaded yet though. She's not goaded.
yeah,
I'm not
not
gonna say that.
goated yet, but I do think she's memorable. You know, people will watch these movies and remember her 100%.
I don't think they're ever gonna kill her off. I've been seeing people say that she could get killed off, but I don't think it's gonna make sense for them to do that.
Okay, but see, this is my thing. They said, you know, she got fired for
Yeah, for
whatever it
some
was.
comment that she said or something like
Yeah,
that,
she said
and
something had something to do with uh it was like politics or something. I really don't remember.
yeah, it was
And
something along the
then
lines of that. Yeah.
it was said that Jenna Ortega wasn't going to sign back on because she has to do Wednesday and she wasn't going to be able to film for the new Scream movie.
And
So
now this apparently, I think they're back and they're gonna be in the movie because I feel like if you don't have either one of these characters, you're really missing a huge part of your movie because they're playing a big role in the storyline that they're doing right now.
that's what I don't know what they're going to do about 7 because have you seen anything saying that they signed back on?
I did maybe like probably a couple weeks ago that they're probably gonna be all in, but if they're not gonna be in the movie, then I'm guessing you're gonna have to rely back on doing the legacy character storyline, and then I don't know what that means for this new cast of Mindy and Chad, where they're gonna fit in all this.
Yeah, because that's where
So
that's confusing. Because where do they fit in if Melissa and Jenna aren't in this new movie?
exactly.
So
'Cause you have a lot of storylines with them as involved as well. Because they really haven't had. Because especially for the like, Chad and Mindy, like, they haven't really had any interactions with Sydney or Gale. It's really
yeah,
been Sam and Tara. So, how do they come in on all this? Because unless they're gonna have Sam and Tara be like the bridge to get them kinda having an interaction with, Gale and Cindy, then that's about it. Because they're playing a huge storyline right now. You have the chat storyline with, you know, Tara going on. So they're missing a huge part if they don't have them there for sure. So
yeah,
I hope that they do sign on, but that kind of segues into the next character we're gonna be talking about is Tara Jenna Ortega. I was happy to find out that she was gonna be in Scream 5. I was very happy to see that.
yeah, yeah. I love Jenna Ortega. Um,
Her character was really cool.
you know,
I think
I wouldn't say she's goaded either yet, though. I'd probably
no,
put her
she's give her a couple more years. I think she'll probably be in that conversation.
for sure.
I might put her right next to her sister. Memorable.
Well, she put on when you know, she had like all those stab wounds, like the broken ankle. She had asthma.
Oh,
She just got out of the hospital. She's still on a crutch, walking around, also trying to, you know, help
yeah, that.
them escape the
Ooh,
ghost faces at the end.
she's not scared though.
Oh, she's strong. She's
Like
strong.
the fact that she literally took all that damage in the first one, and I thought like she was gonna be the opening kill, and she was stayed in, and that now she's pretty much like one of the main characters. I actually love it. And then like her interaction with Ghostface. She's not scared for her being like shorter than like the Ghostface that they portray. She's not afraid to go up against the Ghostface, and I actually like that. I actually
Mhm.
like that part of her character. Um, do I see ever getting killed off? Maybe in the future, if there's a situation where she becomes like a bigger star in the movie industry and to where she's starting doing other films, maybe they do that to kind of have her open up her schedule to more stuff, more
Yeah.
projects. So I can see them doing that. But she's still a good character, and I'm looking forward to hopefully her coming back in the near future. Oh, here comes this douchebag, Vince. Vince, you're gonna go right next to the person that you were sleeping around with.
Yep. Yep.
And here's the thing: he's supposed to be the nephew of Stu Macher in the movie. If that was the case, then I probably would have thought he would probably be the killer on if you just told me that.
Yeah. I mean, he's a douchebag anyway. So
Yeah, and if you look at one of the bar scene, and there was an actual deleted scene where he was supposed to have an interaction with Dewey as well, he would have pretty much punched Dewey and knocked him down.
yeah. Yeah.
So he just looked like a douchebag. He just
Yeah. He
looked
did.
like
Well,
if
scumbag.
I would have been okay with him being a ghost face just because he looks like a douchebag, so it would have fit. Um, the next one, Wes. I actually liked Wes in Scream Five. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I liked
It,
West too.
it I feel like he had a little bit more that they could have done with him because it's like he actually had a crush on Tara in that.
Yeah.
So it was like if you would have kept him around, it would have created an interesting story because now she would have been in the middle of Wes and Chad. This like this whole little love triangle. Like who is she really gonna side with? Who is she really going to end up being with? And I feel like with him and the fifth one, it just really didn't do anything. I feel like
Well,
he had his moments, but
I like
oh,
how I like how his character was kind of uh just
laid
paying
back a little
respects
bit.
to Wes Craven.
Exactly.
Um,
His death was cool too. Wes
and the death was cool, and I wasn't expecting it to happen the way it did.
No, I actually people were kind of going into the movie when they were first about to release it to theaters. A lot of people was pointing to Wes as probably being the one to be the killer. A lot
Mm.
of people were pointing to him as being the guy that was going to do it, but that was never the case. I would say he had his moment. I'm thinking either put him in decent or have the moment, but hey, you might be able to convince me to put him in somewhere else.
Um, I would just say he had his moment, but
Definitely.
the main thing for me was just paying the respects to Wes Craven. I thought that was pretty cool. So
Definitely. Annika, who
brutal
played
death, brutal death.
yeah, she literally
Outside of that, not much, but
because
brutal death.
she played the love interest of Mindy in the movie. She got stabbed in the stomach, and it just showed the brutality that we were starting to see in the later on in the Scream franchise. Like we start to see the brutality kind of pick up a bit in Scream 4
Hmm.
and carry on throughout the movies. Because in the earlier movies from the first three, yeah, they had some kills, but they were not brutal. They weren't like pulling you in emotionally. Like this one was kind of somewhat okay because you had Ghostface like stab her and proceeded to kind of go upwards with it,
Hmm.
and like how they kind of painted it in on that. I actually love that too, and the fact that like you said, it was a brutal. She was literally trying to cross from one building to the other on a ladder
And
and
that
left
was
Ghostface
so
just shaking up.
suspenseful.
Yeah, it would create a suspense. Like, will she make it across? Will she be able to make it across in just in time? Because it seemed like she was close, but Ghostface was not having it. He was
Mm.
shaking the ladder and threw her off the ladder. And like when she hit the ground, I tell you that that scene
Mhm.
just really was cool. So I'm gonna put her at had her moment, even though
That's
she didn't
pretty
play a big character, but her kill did hold a lot of weight for sure. So I'm okay with it. Um, the guy that's playing the love interest in Scream 6 for Samantha, Danny. I thought he was gonna probably be a killer just the way
Yeah,
his
I
persona
thought
and
he was gonna be
charisma
a
was.
killer, and I mean, he was alright. I didn't like the facial expressions he made throughout the whole movie.
It seems
He
like he
was
was
like,
trying too hard.
yeah, it's like not every scene you walk in, you have to be like this big buff, like 220-pound guy, like you're the coolest dude in the room or something. Like it's
I
I didn't
wouldn't be
really
su
like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they keep him around, but I wouldn't be surprised if in Scream 7 they have him in there and he's like the opening kill. I wouldn't be surprised
I
if
mean,
they
he's
start the
not
movie.
like the biggest character. No, he's
No, he's not. So that's why I said he can probably continue because it looks like they're probably gonna have that relationship continuing between Samantha and Danny. But I wouldn't
mm,
be surprised if comes Scream 7, he's the opening kill. And that's how you get Samantha back.
yeah,
So I wouldn't say he sucked completely, but he didn't do it for me. Where
no,
would
not
you put
really.
him in this one?
I mean, he did help them get the ladder from across the apartment.
He That's probably the only thing he did.
Yeah, yeah, that's
People were
about it.
keeping a close eye on him the entire movie because a lot of people were looking at him like, "Oh yeah, that's the killer."
I
Um,
thought he was.
I thought so too. Ethan,
Uh,
I'm sorry, I did not like Ethan. He did not do it for me. I mean, he played the geek, so to speak, and then he had that little dialogue with the rest of the core four. That's what you're calling them now,
yeah,
and he was like saying, "Well, um, am I gonna die a virgin?" And you did. You did
yeah,
die a virgin.
and then at the very end, when he's going to like stab Tara or something, he was like, "Oh, I finally got to stick something in you," or something
Yeah, he
like
said, "I
that.
always want to stick something in you." I'm like, "Are you serious
Yeah,
right now?"
it's
And
like, all right, dude.
then Tara, she got the jump on him and says, "Yeah, so can I." That's pretty
Yeah,
much what
so
happened. I didn't like him. I want to put him in and you sucked. He
I
didn't.
do too.
I did not like him. I did not like Ethan. The next one we're talking about Jason. So apparently they kind of opened up the Scream 6. For the first time, we actually see somebody revealed as a Ghostface, even though it was supposed to be a red herring, even though he wasn't the official Ghostface, but he did have a kill in the movie. So I did like the kill that he did do. I did like the kill. The kill that he did with Laura, I think that's her name, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. Yeah. So Laura, so Laura, I think the kill was cool, but
See,
outside of that, his kill was brutal too.
I
Jason's
didn't I didn't like at first I didn't like it because I went into it blind, obviously, because you try to avoid all spoilers for Scream movies.
same.
I thought when I seen him unmask and stuff, I thought we were gonna know the whole time who Ghostface was.
That's
And
what I thought too.
I thought they were gonna do something weird, like where we know who Ghostface was, but everyone else trying to figure it out. And I did not like that. I was about to be really upset. So that kind of threw his whole scene off for me. So from the get go, I didn't really like him. I like the part where he like opens the fridge though, and his roommate's like
Head is in there.
dismembered in the fridge. Like that's
And then
crazy.
his kill was brutal too. Jason's
Yeah,
because like Ghostface was said, "Do you feel like meat too?" And then like he says, "We got to finish the movie." And then Ghostface says, "Who cares about movies?" Like that
yeah.
was kind of cool. I think that was a cool segue. I think this was a kind of cool red herring to kind of get people thinking: Is he going to be the killer, or is he just going to be playing off or trying to be a copycat killer and stuff
Hmm.
like that? But I'm gonna say he had his moment too, as well, because his moment was really cool. Like he had his moment of being brutally killed. That was about it. Moving into Laura, the opening kill for Scream 6. Um, her being the professor and Jason killing her because of a bad grade on a paper was really kind of crazy to me, in all honesty. But her death wasn't all that. It was just stab,
It
very
was
stab
kind of
heavy,
just it was kind of
very
just it felt like it was just kind of put in there. It,
yeah, and it didn't feel brutal. It was just very stab heavy.
hmm.
And like her dialogue, pretty much meeting a younger guy for a date, came off as very creepy for me.
And then
I'm
going
gonna just
into an
say,
alley by yourself, that was just stupid.
yeah, and you're stupid enough to go in an alley and you
Yeah,
teach a class about scary movies and you're going to go in an alley. Just stupid. That's why I put her in you suck. Because if you
fair.
can't even follow your own rules that you teach, you deserve to be in
Yeah.
the bottom tier. The next one that we're gonna be talking about Quinn.
I liked Quinn
I actually liked her too, especially
and
after
her.
finding out she's the one that attacked Gale. I
Yeah,
loved it.
the reveal was crazy because I really thought she died. They they played that part well about how they were able to do the makeup and stuff and make her look dead, and how like her dad was a detective, so he was able to cover it up. That stuff was really cool. So
Her getting hit with a brick and then her teeth knocked out and her coughing
yeah,
up blood, that was kind of very cringe for me. Then her death action when she got shot by
I put her in.
Samantha.
I put her in decent.
Yeah, she's definitely gonna be going decent for me as well. Um, and then now we're gonna be talking about the Detective Bailey,
Our
the
last character.
who is the father of Richie Curse. We forgot to mention that these people that we just recently talked about are the siblings of Richie Curse.
That's one of the things we talk about where it wraps around. So it's like the whole family was obviously unstable because you got Richie, you got the detective, and then you got Quinn and whatever dude's name was at the
Ethan,
bottom.
and then we didn't really find out anything about the mom, if that was a thing.
Wouldn't be surprised if she's one of the next ones because they.
I wouldn't be surprised either, just to cap off, like, you killed my family. Now I'm gonna try to kill you.
Did was is their mom dead? Did they ever mention
I
anything like
don't I
that? Or
I don't I'm not too sure. I might have to go back and rewatch it, but they probably could have made a mention of it, but I don't think they did.
I
They
can't
didn't really
remember.
mention the mom. They only mentioned just like the siblings, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So for him being the mastermind of the whole Ghostface thing, I don't know. I really
It kind of fell a little flat for me. I kind of
yeah.
wish it would have been somebody else, but
I really wish it could have been somebody else, but his death was really cool too. Because Samantha went ballistic stabbing him.
yeah. And one thing before I forget that I want to mention when it was Quinn and Ethan, and they both stood up at the same time and turned around and wiped their blades right next
With
to each
Chad.
other. That was so sick, dude.
Yeah, and
That
that
was
was
so
right
cool.
after they stabbed Chad and they did
Yeah,
that.
that
Like
was.
that sequence was cool. So as
I'd
far
say
as
the
he
detective.
goes,
I'd say the detective had his moment. I mean, it just kind of fell flat for me.
yeah,
Like I
he
get
had
the
his death.
story and the motive, but eh,
I get the motive. The only reason why I don't put him in "you suck" because the motive, because he wanted revenge for his son, even though his son was a psycho. And then him pretty much orchestrating the whole thing. That's
yeah, he
really
was
about it.
pretty
And his
smart
death,
too. He
and
was
his
pretty
death,
smart too.
and like how he was able to kind of get around with a lot of the stuff because he was
Hmm.
a police officer. So he was able to kind of get a lot of the evidence from the lockers, and I feel like they kind of built that shrine. So
Yeah,
that shrine, I feel like he put together all the stuff from the previous characters, like from Dewey. We saw his stuff in there. We saw pictures of him. We saw the knife that um what's her name, Hayden Pantier. The knife that she was stabbed with was in there. So you
hmm,
had that. You had some of the officer stuff in there. You had the telephone stuff. You had the Randy um movie long sleeve that he had on. That was cool too.
yeah,
Paying homage to a lot of the characters that we've seen and grew to love for so long. So I definitely think that he did serve some type of purpose, but at the same time, his character, just him being him out of the Ghostface stuff, didn't really hit for me. It really
yeah,
didn't. And he
yeah,
also came off as a creep just because the fact that he was trying to figure out all these files um the her character, the characters. And I didn't like that. I feel
hmm,
like it was cool, but we kind of could tell that he was up to no good from the get-go. And then like how he had the phones and who and starting the rumors about Samantha this entire time as well. So you kind of played up that orchestra of trying to paint Samantha as being a crazy person when in reality she was someone that was trying to recuperate from everything that she's dealt with over the
yeah,
previous year and everything like that. So I would give the edge to him in that regard, but still, I didn't like his character nonetheless. But before I think that really concludes our Scream characterization as far as where do we feel like a lot of them placed a lot of them for the most part ended up they had their moments, but they weren't really good
hmm,
characters. Um, we had some goaded ones. I was surprised. I think a lot of the ones that we haven't goaded, I think a lot of people can expect to see in goaded. I feel like a lot of people are probably going to comment on this video, probably say, "Why do you have Gail all the way down to DC, but you have
yeah.
Sydney and Dewey and in the goaded? She's a goaded character, guys. I mean." we love Gale, but when it comes to the legacy characters, she was not the best one. I'm sorry. People can agree to disagree with me all day. If you want to let me know in the comment section down below, you feel free to do that. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But hey, before we head out of here, let the people know if you have anything else that you want to share, like your social medias, any upcoming videos or live streams you're working on, anything like that.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and check out my channel. It's going to be Hayden right there. It's spelled exactly like that. I make horror movie content. I talk about horror movies, horror movie trailers, collectibles, reviews, unboxings, anything horror. I talk about it. I haven't made a video in a few weeks. I've been very sick. Today is the first day that I've actually been able to get up and do something, which I'm very grateful for. This was very fun. I appreciate you having me, Leo. It was fun as always. We'll have to do something again in the near
Definitely,
future.
definitely will try to do some more horror content. Definitely. Maybe we'll do some podcast episodes where we'll be talking about different movies, different things. What do we
For sure,
expect to
man.
see? I know you have a lot of people in the horror franchise that you're talking to. I'm gonna try to get with you and we can try to collab all together, talk about horror stuff. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'm really and you guys, you got to understand, if it wasn't for Hayden, I wouldn't be doing horror content. Like I love horror, but it's kind of hard to talk about. So you guys should be thanking Hayden that you guys are getting horror content of me. So if you guys come across this video, just put in the comments in all caps, thank you, Hayden, because now I'm gonna be doing horror content from this going forward. I got some ideas probably on the way, so you guys stay tuned for that. Like you said, we will be doing some more horror content probably very, very soon, maybe in the next couple of weeks or so. So stay tuned. What if it's just a video to us doing a tier list like this, or just an actual full blown, in depth? Maybe we'll do a review of Terrifier 3 and what we liked and
That'd
what
be
we
sick.
wanted to
That'd be sick.
see. We could definitely do something like that. I would love to, because we both love Terrifier 3. Like I went to go see it recently. Hayden went to go see it, and if you guys haven't went to go see it yet, go do so because that movie is really, really good. I would
Mhm.
honestly say it's probably one of the best in the franchise right now, even though it's only three that's been made. It's definitely going to be up there for me for sure. But like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I will leave the links to his channel and his social medias down in this description below. So if you guys want to subscribe to his channel, support his channel, go follow him on Instagram or whatever the case may be, go do so. And with that being said, hope everybody has a spooky season, and we'll see you guys in the next one. But don't call Ghostface because he will get you.